Welcome to another episode of Unstuck Club. Di and I started talking in the background, and then we were like, wait, don't say anything more. How are you, Di?
I'm fine. I have to tell those listening that Jodene just shouted at me. Because, we don't normally talk like that before we start the podcast, but somehow, we went off on a tangent. And I think what did come out was it's something we both feel very passionate about. So to answer your question, I'm really good. It's very hot and there's a really crazy wind here today, but I'm glad the warm weather is back, and I feel excited for the last couple of months of 2024.
Yeah. And that's what we were chatting about is, as we get closer to the end of the year, and we're counting down, so we now officially know that we're like less than 100 days away. It's there's this, what's your intention, what are you going to do for the end of the year, and we everyone reflects, and then that reflection can so quickly go to, I set intention for myself and I haven't gotten to that intention, and then we get into this loop of frustration with ourselves and unkindness, and instead of just taking the pressure off a little bit, right?
Yeah. We did, a couple of weeks ago, we did an episode on this, I call it toxic positivity, where it's like, ignore all the bad, you're not allowed to have the bad feelings. And, with this intention, it's a word that's like just bandied around, set your intentions. And, with the nature of social media, when you start watching one video on any specific subject, they then fill your timeline with similar videos. And, I'm seeing these people. So, okay, there is one thing. A lot of people are saying our energy, the energy of the planet, because we are all energy and we are connected to everything that's going on in our world energetically, even if we don't realize it. The energy is shifting. There's a lot of planetary movement. We've just had another huge solar storm in the last couple of days. All of this affects us. But I'm seeing people, I'm seeing these videos that go, say this affirmation for the next 10 days, 3 times a day, and you'll never worry about money again, or your life will change in ways you can't even imagine. So if it was that simple, we'd all be doing it and our lives would have changed, So I know that you've got some strong feelings on this thing of intentions, and I think how easily we can get sucked into say these intentions, do this, say that, and life will just miraculously change. And of course we both know from just the work we do on ourselves that it's not that simple.
No, because so you set an intention for yourself, and every single person has best intentions for themselves. We all have the best intention for ourselves. And then my biggest frustration, yours is the affirmations and all of that, but my biggest frustration is when I hear people say, just kick into willpower, lean into your willpower, just do it, get up, get started. The overprotective ego voices in our head will completely and utterly overshadow any degree of willpower that we think we have. So those voices in our head that are so protected, that are linked into memory, that don't want us to be hurt, wounded, any of those things again, literally squashes any willpower that we have. So now we're sitting with our best intentions for ourselves. We wake up in the morning, and we can't do that one little thing that we set for ourselves. Then we get frustrated, right? Now everyone's frustrated or upset or disappointed with themselves. And then we are actually perpetuating our own wound the whole time. And I'm just going to get it started, because this is when I actually said to you, stop talking. is that, yes, we are a product of our past, right? However, the ego mind, which likes to keep us safe, when the ego mind manages us instead of us managing our mind, right? Then we are a repetitive, consistent reflection of our past. We don't have to be that consistent reflection of our past. But if we don't do something different, like really different with ourselves, then we wake up every day with the same mindset that we had, and the mind is managing us instead of us managing the mind. And I know I'm making it sound really simple, but it is something that people have to understand. And how do you do, or what do you do? That's when it lies in that self-awareness of, this is the programmed belief that I have in myself. But can you answer who you truly are so that you can reprogram yourself into the blueprint of who you really are?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I always remember that Caroline Mace, I was listening to one of her recordings, and she was talking about especially this stuff from childhood. And there is a lot at the moment on social media of, if you're doing these kinds of habits, you may think they're normal, but actually they're a sign of childhood trauma and you need to get help. Now, I'm not saying that there may be some of them. Certainly there are. I'm not a professional in this field, but I just feel like we're constantly being told like there's something wrong with you. Like you need to go and fix something. If you don't have this picture perfect life, you're faulty. And Caroline Mace tells the story of being at a conference, and she was chatting to two guys, and this woman walked up, and the man introduced himself, and she said, "Oh, I'm so and so. I'm a survivor of incest." Like he hadn't asked her. She just like, I'm Fred's whoever. I'm a survivor of incest. Like it was her label. And Caroline Mace went on to say that the problem she has with a lot of these kinds of groups is, yes, they absolutely have their place. When you are in those early stages, you need the support. You need the professionals to help you get through it. The problem comes when 5, 10, 15 years later, you are still part of it and it becomes your identity. And I never thought of it like that. And I remember, what was her name? Alison Hunter. Do you remember the woman down in PE who was abducted by those two guys?
Yes.
Raped, they slashed her throat, left her for dead, and she survived. And when I read her book afterwards, she said, like, that does not define who I am as a human being. And that is so incredibly powerful. And I think often where we get tripped up with this intention is like, people who eat because of trauma or family stuff. I mean, we know how deep all of this runs. I've got the female side of my family, going back to my grandmother, we have eating issues. My aunts and my mother ate their emotions. In those years, the early years, like the Second World War into the 50s and 60s, that's what women did. Because there weren't coaches like you and I. There weren't therapists you could go and talk to. So you ate your unhappiness. That's a generational thing, that I'm part of, but I don't have to carry it on. I can choose to break it. But I think where people sometimes get tripped up, and maybe I'm wrong here, but from what I've seen is they don't want to go within and feel and deal with those emotions. So it's easier to have an external. I'm very big on this internal, external. It's easy to have an external intention, But if you're not going to go inside and do the work and listen, the times that you and I sit down together and we go like, what's really going on inside of me? What am I feeling? Like, what is my soul telling me that I would rather ignore?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, they want this surface intentions. And I don't think you can sustain that. It's when you go inside, do the work, which is where your personality profile is such a beautiful part of that, because you really get to dive into those aspects of yourself that you came into the world with. And I just know for myself, just our last session, when we looked simply at one aspect of my profile, and I can't wait to do the rest now, by the way, I just have a better understanding of my relationship with food.
Right.
A simple little, but it's the awareness of what I do with that every time I walk into my kitchen or order a plate of food when I'm out.
Yeah. And what has happened over time is that the focus has been on what's broken that I have to fix within myself, right? So if I said to someone, sit quietly and just listen to the things that you have to say about yourself, the initial response would be, I haven't achieved this, I haven't done this, I look like this. It takes so much hard work to flip into the space where we should be, because healing, for me, true healing is the acceptance of your authentic self. True healing is exactly what you said. This doesn't define me. This that has happened doesn't define me. And also understanding the difference between this response to life comes from my low esteem behaviors because I am functioning from a wound. I do have the ability to come from a confident behavior, which will ultimately heal the wound.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes a whole lot of bravery to do. I think that, and I've seen it because I've watched so many people begin the coaching journey with me. And I know that there are some people who are going to be listening and, there were 2 sessions used out of the 6 sessions, or there was 1 session used and you haven't come back. And I hold so much empathy and so much space. And I always say it. I remember telling someone once when we were describing different aspects of our business, and I said, if someone gets a coaching package with me, they can come back in 10 years' time and that will still be waiting for them. And they were like, no, it has to have an expiry date. And I was like, but there isn't an expiry date on when it is brave, when you feel brave enough within yourself to be ready to face it. And what I very often see is that the uncomfortable is in the acceptance of, this is who you are. You are not the broken version of yourself. You are the confident version with yourself. And people sit with these confident traits and then don't know what to do with the confident traits. I don't know what it means to be that self-confident human being that I am, whether you're the pioneer as an archetype in that specific place, or whether you are the visionary within that space, because somewhere along the line it got chipped away.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think that it is because, like, how we grow up and society over time doesn't encourage you
Always
to be authentic, to be yourself, and to accept those parts? I feel like I almost got emotional when you were talking now, because I feel like you've described the blueprint, the energetic blueprint before someone is born. I feel like if the little soul is sitting down with the elder and it's explained to them what this earth experience is going to be like. I feel like you've just explained it. It is that, like, you're going to have all these shitty things that are going to happen to you. Some of them are going to knock you sideways. Your task, if you choose to accept it, is to stay connected to your bravery, to know that that's not who you are, that you have such unlimited potential and possibility inside of you.
Yeah.
That's what you come here to earth to manage. I feel like, Joe, you've literally just described everybody's energetic blueprint. Those experiences, like, you chose, this is what you chose because you wanted to learn this and this and this. The problem is, of course, A, that we forget when we arrive, and B, it is that we are worn down. I mean, if I look at my own childhood, which was a very normal childhood, none of my creative side was ever encouraged, nurtured. I was a loner. I didn't make friends easily. And now, at the ripe old age of 65, I'm really still struggling to just connect with that creative spark self that I know is in there. It does come out, in the way I dress and what I do with my hair, but I know there is so much more. But because it was never supported, and I know for a lot of people it was almost squashed. It was like, you're weird. You had it. You were the flighty, irresponsible one, and look at you now. So it's like that whole life experience is to reconnect with that. Absolutely. But now we don't want to do and now it's painful.
Yeah.
So we'll just do affirmations and pull cards and look for the 11-11s and the 12-12s and go, no, all is right with the world, but we're completely ignoring this.
Absolutely. And so that is where I believe that the power of intention is so important, right? Setting intention for yourself is so important. But where it is so very wrong is the degree to which intention is set. So an example for me is I am much better within myself. And this is in my personality blueprint, right? I am much better within myself when I have literally pushed myself, like physically in some way pushed myself. I used to hate any kind of physical exercise. I really used to hate it. And I slowly, really and truly leaned into feel strong within yourself, and then you feel stronger getting out into the world. Okay. Yeah. As soon as anything goes wrong, as soon as life throws something, the very first thing that I stop is the weight training or it's the initial, it's the go-to, right? So I set an intention for myself to do 3 days a week of 45-minute physical exercise that has to include the weight training. I'm not doing anything that I don't like, because we're not trying to punish ourselves in what we do, right? But I do have to just have I've got to put something in brackets. That doesn't give you the right to say, I don't like vegetables, so I'm not going to eat vegetables. It doesn't give you the right to say, I don't like getting through the day without whatever my vice is. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying find the healthy alternative that you love when it comes to eating, when it comes to find your sleeping pattern. It has got to be enriching for you. Whatever you do must be enriching for you, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the first thing I stopped. So I set the intention for myself. And this morning I woke up and there was a lot going on, and I had just an emotional wobble, right?
Yeah.
So I shifted the intention with myself. Okay. I know how to push through from intention to willpower because I understand my traits. I understand my behaviors. So this is what I said to myself. You like it when you do something that where you've worked your body. So I put my exercise weights on my ankles and on my wrists. And I put on music that I love to dance to. By now, everyone should know that it's Taylor Swift music. I started with a song that was going to get me going. And I think that at the moment, most of us are using I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. That's where I started. And there was no structure. There was no routine. I just moved for 45 minutes. I kept on checking my watch. I even went to the kitchen. I put on the kettle. I was lifting my arms. The thing that we do that breaks us every single time is we put these restrictions on our intentions that makes it so difficult to achieve. So what was my commitment to myself? My intention and my commitment to myself was the 45 minutes of moving, right? The leeway that I give myself is that it doesn't have to be the program that the coach gave me. So if we use an example of someone who is trying to write, the intention that you set for yourself is I'm going to write a bit every day. Okay? If you are struggling, you say to yourself, okay, it doesn't have to be the book. I'm going to write how I feel. Okay, it doesn't have to be the 1,000 words that I set out for myself. It can be 200 words. Okay, it doesn't have to be the hour that I set for myself. It can be 10 minutes. But what we do is we go, if it's not an hour, it's not good enough. If it's not 1,000 words, it's not good enough. And then we just become our own worst enemy. We have got to.
Because then you think you failed.
Absolutely.
So I failed. So what is the point of continuing? And you know what? As you were speaking, it's so interesting that we pick the things like the food that we eat, physical exercise, the creative pursuits that nurture us and are the best for us. They seem to be the ones we're the hardest on ourselves. So it is that, 45 minutes, 3 times a week or whatever, and you need to do this. And with most people, and I know for me this is particularly so, you tell me what I must and mustn't eat. I can feel that rebellious child just kicking up her heels going, don't tell me what to put in my mouth. I have enough rules and regulations that I live by. Don't tell me not to have the cream cake. I don't even like cream cakes, but tell me not to eat it. And my child just kicks in. Whereas when I want to feel good, when I don't want to wake up with brain fog, when I want to feel energized in the middle of the afternoon, then I choose to eat properly. But it's those things that really are the best for us. And you're right, they're the first things that go.
Do you know why?
You're going to tell me.
I'm going to tell you why. Because all those things ultimately bring us joy and make us feel good. And when our esteem wavers, we do not feel worthy of the joy or the happiness.
Ah, interesting.
And that is the space that we go to. And that is lifelong programming. And I'm going to tell you my worst phrase ever spoken. I don't know where it came from. I don't know the history of it, but that you can't have your cake and eat it is the most. I don't even understand it. I don't even, as a human being, as the human being that I am, I don't even understand it. Because what it has done, it has programmed into the collective that you can't create and savor the joy. That you can't have all the things. Our ego mind is programmed in the collective to either have, it's that either or. The ego mind does not know that you can have it all. So actually, you can have a bad day and turn to your creative pursuits to make your day feel better. The mind doesn't matter. You can feel really bad about yourself and eat an absolutely delicious, wholehearted meal that is good for you to help you feel better. The mind does not know that. And that is where so much of the reprogramming comes to. But the thing is that you can't reprogram into somebody else's program. You've got to reprogram into your own program. So I know what makes me feel good and I know what makes me feel better because it's in my behaviors. You are starting with the work that we're doing to know that. And we haven't dug into that. And if you're willing, because it was such a beautiful experience, is to go into your creativity. If I had to say to you now, do the creative thing, would you know what the creative thing is?
Probably my writing, I think, at the moment. But also, I've got a whole shelf in my therapy room of my watercolor paints and watercolor paper and brushes, and I never take them out. But I think also I have a huge block with creativity. Like, I know with my writing it's okay, but anything art, I'm like, oh, what if it's not good enough? Like, I'm terrible at comparing myself. Like, for me, to go to an art class with others is the most stressful thing on the planet. Like, because I just spend all my time looking at all the other beautiful things that everyone else is doing and telling myself I'm not creative. So, and the interesting thing with what you're saying is we also don't believe, so we can't, it's got to be either or, but also that those happy, joyful feelings, they don't last. You can't have them all the time. Like, it's not realistic to be happy all the time. I'm not saying we always have stuff that happens to us that will momentarily make you angry or depressed or sad or whatever. But joy is not this elusive, like you can only have it now and again. Absolutely. You can have it where you are contented or joyful just at being on the planet and being alive. That's another thing. Like, life, there's a strong belief that life is meant to be a struggle. Like, there's something wrong with you if you're not in struggle all the time. And it's also so unhealthy. And I think that brings about a lot of division and animosity. You just have to see when someone suddenly, it always fascinates me, like, especially with these competitions on TV, like, what's the one, Idols. Everyone votes for the underdog. There's always one that nobody thinks is going to get anywhere, and the underdog starts coming through the levels and getting to the finals and wins. The moment that person wins, they're looking for any dirt on them and they start breaking them down. Like, we got you up there, but don't think that you deserve to stay up there. And then they systematically work on breaking them down. So, there's a lot, the more we talk, there's a lot going on with the messages that we get from the world around us, our peers, our parents, society in general, that really feed some very negative thought processes at us. No wonder it's such a struggle for people to find that peace of mind. Sure.
I believe that most probably the toughest thing for someone to do is to be told, this is your authentic self. Now live it. That is the toughest thing to do. Meanwhile, so much of the misalignment, so much of the energetic misalignment is because we are always in a process of co-creation, right? All the time.
Yes. Yeah.
And in my animated view of how life, the universe, and how we play into it works, is that every choice that we make brings about another choice. Every single choice brings about another choice. And then that choice brings about an energetic action on the other side, right? Yeah. And if we are consistently choosing the safer, that path of least resistance, but expecting the success or the money or the relationship or all those things, then we are misaligned. The universe, the energetic pull that people are talking about, it's your belief in yourself that creates the momentum to get those greater things. But that belief in yourself has to translate into you being your true, authentic version of yourself. And I've dedicated my life to that. Like that's what I've done. I just had lunch with a high school friend of mine. So she's known me for 33, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, for 40 years. She's known me, right? And I was like, this is what I'm dedicating the remainder of my life to, wholeheartedly. You know?
That's so big what you just said, that it's our belief in ourselves that basically I don't think we realize the depth of our power.
And it is, you know, just like an absolute blatant punt, and it actually comes from you. Like, if you go onto the website, you can order, and I will create your personality blueprint, right? And you can have it for as long as you like. And when you feel ready to dig into it, you will. But the first brave step is just to build a curiosity about yourself. Like, that for me is the most important thing. Build a curiosity about yourself, not who you have been told you are, not who you think you are. Find out who you authentically, genuinely are.
And that can be very scary for people, I think, in so many ways. Just through the experiences of life, we can become very disconnected from parts of ourselves.
Absolutely.
And that, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. But we've sort of got just hidden by layers and layers of beliefs and that low self-esteem. I mean, the more I do look at my own profile and see those low self-esteem traits, I now at least can identify when I've slipped into them and go, okay, what's going on here? Because now you're behaving like X, Y, Z. That doesn't support you and it doesn't nurture you at all. So it is like it's a really powerful tool to just understand like how we're showing up. And I think also we also have to be a lot gentler on ourselves. Like, nobody has the manual for this journey. None of us have it. You know, some people come along and they discover something and they share it with others, like you've done with your work, like I've done with the grief work. But none of us know how to navigate and manage all of this. Nobody's got the answers. But I do know that we have to start digging a lot deeper if we want to see lasting, significant changes in our life. And that bravery, that call to bravery, like, and again, that you don't have to do it on your own. You know, if you do have an intention, again, you know, we talk often about the accountability partners. To have someone that you just message every day going, I hit my intention today, you know, I walked 500 meters, or I did 2 minutes of dancing, you know, whatever it is, made an appointment with a specialist, tell someone, have a cheerleader who can go, good for you, I'm proud of you, because we all need that gold star. We do. We need to know that someone is proud of us and what we've done, that someone believes in us.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful place to end.
Yeah. And I just want to say, have your cake and eat it. Thank you, Jo. That was an awesome discussion.
Yeah, it was.
And we really, you know, we never know where these podcasts, when we record them, we have no idea where they go. We don't We don't have a script. We don't pre-plan anything. It's literally what's been coming up in our lives or what we're seeing in other people. But yeah, it's just such a beautiful experience to be able to share this and share this space with you, Jo. I really, really appreciate it.
I'm so grateful. And yeah, just thank you to every person who listens. And we really just do want to remind you that we are there for you in any way, just in any way. That's why we're here.
Okay. And we will see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.